Hello and welcome to Read Becca. So is everybody appropriately freaked out? I think I've seen everyone do this tag already, but you're all early. Dirty, dirty cheaters. I'm definitely a pedant about this. I really waited until we're actually into July and halfway through the year. I will for sure be someone who waits until after the end of the year to do my end of year content. So let's get into it. So question number 1 is going to be best book you've read so far in 2021, and this should come as no surprise whatsoever, but that's going to be Sorrowland by River Solomon. I absolutely love this. This was a 5-star read, as is par for the course for everything that River Solomon has written. And this particular book follows Vern as she is escaping a cult out into the woods. She is very pregnant and about to give birth to twins who she then begins raising in the forest. But there is kind of this fiend in the forest toying with her and making her life difficult. At the same time, her body is going through some very strange changes. So this is a genre blender like crazy, which is my jam very much. It's got sci-fi, it's got horror, it's got fantasy, it's got a little bit of everything. So really enjoy this so much. I think if you can handle some graphic content, this is well worth picking up. So question number 2 is going to be best sequel you've read so far in 2021. And yet again, it's going to not be a surprise at all to anyone. It is A Desolation Called Peace by Arkady Martine. I loved the first book. It was a debut novel, and I was pretty sure that it was going to be a new favorite of all time and make this author an auto-buy, but I wanted to kind of sleep on it and see how their continued work went, and I absolutely love this. So this is definitely a new favorite of all time sci-fi series. I really hope Martine gets back to it. So in the first novel, we actually talk quite a bit about colonization and the disparity between our ambassador protagonist, Mahit, who is going as an ambassador to this big colonizing empire. And she is kind of viewed as lesser than or primitive by the people of the empire, yet she's always been a fangirl of their culture. And so we see the interplay of that immersion in a culture she's always viewed from outside for the first time, while she's going through a murder mystery in the first novel. In this book, she is uniquely posed to deal with a first contact scenario because Mahit is in fact a linguist. So this deals with the long, slow development of communication with something completely new and alien. So I absolutely loved this for those elements, the fact that it didn't really lean into the action. It stuck with the work that's involved. Okay. So we had a minor camera malfunction there, so hopefully you're back there. Okay, so question number 3. We are up to new release you haven't read yet, but want to. There are so many. I would say probably the main priority to get to next is Fugitive Telemetry by Martha Wells. I just read Network Effect, the novel, and Fugitive Telemetry is a new novella. And I think it's kind of a standalone mystery, in fact. So I really want to get to that one soon. So question number 4 is most anticipated release for the second half of the year. And there's no contest for this. I am incredibly, incredibly excited for Under the Whispering Door by TJ Klune. I believe it is another standalone and not connected with their other work, but I've really enjoyed Klune's work. I've read a couple of books from him and just really enjoyed his characterization always. He has characters you can really connect with in the previous works that I've read. So I will be getting that as soon as it comes out, I think in September. Number 5, biggest disappointment. So this one was a journey. I saw and placed a hold for How the One-Armed Sister Sweeps Her House by Cherie Jones as soon as it was added to my Overdrive, and I did that on audio, and it had about an 8 or 10 week wait. So I had a lengthy wait. And in the time between when I placed it on the hold, having heard absolutely nothing about it, but it sounded interesting and the cover looked really good, to when I actually got it, the Women's Prize long list was announced. It got talked up a ton, like a lot, between that time when I actually got to it. So going in, I now had these expectations where when I first put on hold, I didn't. And I really didn't enjoy the plot. I've talked about it a little more, and I'll try and find the video and link it in the cards. But I mean, just the general, what it boiled down to is that I thought the characters were extremely well written. I thought the actual prose was very good, and writing in general was of very good quality. The setting and sense of place was extremely good. You could really feel like you were there on the island. But it didn't really explore hardly at all the inequality of the island. Like, it alluded to that, but seemed to expect us to know more about that than it actually went into. I really wanted that to be the focus. And then the actual plot just fell apart for me. It hinges on coincidences a lot. Right from the beginning, the opening scene is one of the primary characters going into labor and by coincidence running up for help to the house that her husband is robbing. And like, somehow pure coincidence, that's what happens. Like, I just could not buy into it. So I think the author has a great career ahead of them. This is a debut as far as I know, and I would definitely pick up more work from them, but I think it was not at the caliber of some of the other works up for the list. And so for me, based on everything I had heard, it just really didn't hold up, and I was reading it for a plot that didn't work from my perspective. All right, number 6 is Biggest Surprise. And I think on multiple fronts, the biggest surprise is probably Earthlings by Sayaka Murata. I did really enjoy this book, if enjoy is the right word, but it's horrifying. So the biggest surprise is really the ending. Like, there's no way to predict what is going to happen at the end of this book, and you will just be sitting there with your mouth hanging open because it's so shocking. Number 7, favorite new author. I think I have quite a few for this, but I think that probably the number 1 that I will be watching is Natalie Zena Walshott's. Her debut, Hench, was just out, and I just read it. Just came out this year, and I just read it recently and really enjoyed everything about it. So I will be absolutely looking forward to anything that she puts out. Number 8, newest fictional crush. I don't really get crushes. I think everybody says this, like 90% of the people that make this video do the disclaimer that they don't get crushes. So, well, we'll go with it though. So probably if I were to have a crush, it would be on Besnaria from How to Find a Princess, and because she is just so forthright and direct about everything all the time, and she's got this damsels in distress service where she comes in and saves the day. And then the other one would probably be Nico from The Vela, who I did not expect at all. But Nico is a non-binary character, and they are the child of a politician, so they're kind of underestimated and viewed as very privileged and naive by everyone, but in reality, they're really competent at what they specialize in, which is technology. And so they're lugging around their computer basically on this space trip. And so I just really liked that character because we get both that outside view of this incompetent rich kid basically, and then the inner view where they have so much insecurity because of how people view them. So it was kind of a cinnamon rolly character that you just have to empathize with. So number 9 is newest favorite character, and I had to go with the disreputable dog, who's over there or on the back, but from Lyriel by Garth Nix, and everybody always brings up disreputable dog about this novel and what a great character it is, but I was not even prepared. So disreputable dog is this kind of summoned magical being, and if you've read the first book, we had a great animal character in Mogget, and Mogget kind of appears here as well, very briefly, but disreputable dog is a very prominent force in here, and is kind of curmudgeonly, so it has that curmudgeonly and always hungry dog attitude, but obviously it is a talking dog. So we see this really quirky character that is helpful while being difficult. So yeah, I really enjoyed the character. I'll put that one there. All right, and then book that made you cry is number 10. And I don't really cry very much at books, so we're gonna go with one that made me emotional was When You Trap a Tiger by Tay Keller. And this one has some very sad content in it. It is all about a little girl with her mom and sister who are moving in order to take care of their sick grandma. And this talks about kind of how our relationships change, and particularly familial relationships, and that we can't always stay the same, both as an individual and the connections that we have with people. These two girls have already gone through death with their father, and so they're kind of processing what it means to have this sick grandmother and if she is going to pass away. And so there's a lot of processing grief, or the potential for grief, and what that means to who they are if they lose someone they love. So it's very sad. So definitely, if you are someone that cries at books, read with a tissue, but I absolutely loved this. This was a fantastic read. It's on my 5-star list for the year. All right, so number 11 is book that made you happy. And for this, I have to go with Dragon with a Chocolate Heart by Stephanie Burgess. Stephanie Burgess has great concepts for her works. So this is actually a middle grade novel, and it's all about a young dragon who wants to prove herself and that she is responsible and can take care of things on her own. So she leaves the mountain cavern and immediately runs into a food mage who gives her some cursed chocolate that traps her in a human body. But she doesn't care so much because she loved the chocolate, and she's now obsessed with chocolate and just wants to go down the mountain to the village and get an apprenticeship working for a chocolatier. So that was delightful and so sweet and absolutely heartwarming. All right, so number 12, you've got the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year, and no surprise, I'm going to reach for Sorrowland here. So Sorrowland, look at that gorgeous buttery cover. It's got a beautiful spine. Yes. All right. So this is definitely the prettiest book I have bought this year so far. I don't buy very many books new, and I had a pre-order on this. Absolutely love it. All right. So lastly, the final question is, what books do you need to read by the end of the year? And I would say all of them. I could read any of these shelves, are basically all stuff that I need to get to and haven't read. So, but I will say the 3 series that are my priorities to finish this year. Number 1 is the Heartstrikers series by Rachel Aaron, and I've read it all on ebook, so I don't have it here. But the series is like an urban fantasy, like a near future urban fantasy, where the Detroit Free Zone exists, and this young dragon who's not very dragon-like is banished by his family to try and make him more dragon-like by sending him in human form to the Detroit Free Zone where dragons are outlawed. So it's really great fun. It's very dragonful. So I am looking forward to read, I think, book 4 and 5 are what I have left of that one. And then I have, this is the first book in the Digitesque series, Zeroth Law, and I absolutely love this. This is a science fantasy series where you kind of have a magic is technology or coding concept. You've got advanced ancient technology, and you've got some space and aliens as well. It's a really fabulous series. I think I have 3 books remaining in this one. And then the third series I have is the Yarns World series. This is the first book. They mostly come out at night. You just saw on my TBR for the BookTube spin, I got the sequel follow-up to this, but there are several other books set in different regions of this world. And each region has their own kind of setting. So like the second book is set in a pseudo-Polynesian setting, an archipelago, and the third book is kind of Spanish Castilian. And so in this world, there are magical knacks. So you can be specialized basically magically in a certain skill. So like the second one where we're in that Polynesian setting, the main character is just has a knack for playing the ocarina. So she's a musician. And so it's a really interesting magic system. But then on top of that, in this series, you get folklore in between each chapter. And it'll be folklore from the part of the world that the book is set in. So it's a really enjoyable series, and I really want to finish it up. I think I have 2 books and a short story left in this series. So that is it. I don't think I'm too freaked out, but it feels like the year is flying by. So I am really looking forward to see, based on how great it's gone so far, what the second half of the year will hold. Thanks so much for watching. As always, please like and subscribe if you want to see more.